I don't suppose that's a 5 charger.
No.
No? I was like, oh, I had to use my phone to patch off internet, and you rock. Thank you, my dear.
Do you like it? Did you text me?
Oh, I didn't.
Did you just get what you get?
Okay. What did I get?
The White Club.
Perfect.
With lettuce, tomato, and cucumber.
Mustard mayo?
Just absent.
Okay. Works for me.
I'm like, okay, do I put stuff on it? I don't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I didn't get you a drink, though.
I'm trying to get this computer stuff so I can operate off one computer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a pain because this is a brand new computer and it doesn't have PowerPoint on it. Like I just got it like a week ago. But I bought it because I knew it had a really good webcam. And I didn't have time to install my PowerPoint on it. And so I can't run my PowerPoint on it. And it's driving me nuts. And I didn't realize the internet was going to be this difficult, because I said I'm going to need 2 internet connections, one for the, I don't know why he's having so many problems. He can't, I don't know, but if they think I'm paying for it.
I was thinking, if you build it, it's not like there's, 50,000 people who are doing other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, come on up. Yeah. It's not like this is some special place or something.
Is stuff on the table available to purchase, or are those just our prizes?
They're giveaways or, yeah. What do you want?
Do you even want a cake?
I didn't, my cakes didn't come.
Oh,
If you want, I can get you one. Here's a
Marcy, I have a question.
Sure.
You can probably answer. With the literature I've looked at and listening to Steve and Ann,
Mm-hmm.
they still use Asperger's, just the term. Okay, because I work with a CERT, special education resource teacher,
Okay.
who's from Alberta, and worked in strictly in autism class, and he said there's no, that's no longer a term that's used anymore.
Well, the DSM-5
Mhm.
is removing Asperger's as a separate diagnostic criteria. It's just going to be like the new one that's literally, it takes 2 years for these, so it's not actually released yet. Like he said, it's a month from now. It's literally like official in a month.
Mhm.
So like if they were diagnosed today, they could still be diagnosed Asperger's, but a month from now, they would just be diagnosed autism with Asperger-like tendencies or whatever. like he said with the PDD thing, pervasive development disorder.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It's all the autism spectrum. It's just that's where they fall on the spectrum. Yep. Yeah, exactly. It gets very, and especially because it's like 5 years worth of, in the make. Well, it takes 5 years to update for 5 years. Like it's ridiculous. It's
So
always
now we're 5 years
behind the ball. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'm back.
Steve, can you hear me?
I'm back, but I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can. Can you hear me?
All right, I'm looking at the ceiling now.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're looking at the screen. We're still waiting for a number of people to trickle back here, so, and then I was just gonna play a song for everybody here while we're waiting.
All right.
So, I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but it's beautiful.
All right, go on, let her rip.
So I'm gonna just play this song for you guys while we're waiting for the rest of the people to trickle in. Have any of you heard a song called "The Life That's Chosen Me"? As a parent, grandparent, parent, caregiver, or someone on the spectrum, can you guys raise your hands? Who's in the room? Okay, wow. So make sure you have Kleenex in hand. This song I found a couple of years ago while I was looking for some music, obviously for some presentations, and I often use it when I meet new people, or I'm actually divorced now and trying to go into the dating world with twin boys on the autism spectrum is somewhat interesting. So I'll even play it for a special person in my life so that they understand what it's like to be on this side of the spectrum. So I'll let you listen to it, but it's beautiful.
We had such expectations, we would soon be giving birth to the next Chopin, the next Einstein, the greatest child on earth. And we'd be the perfect family, soon we'd have the perfect kid. We'd never have a challenge or a problem, God forbid. Oh, but life had different plans. So I need for you to understand. Don't desert me, don't ignore. I need friends now, more than I ever did before. Show compassion, but please don't pity me. I'm a parent just like you, it's true, but I have special needs. I need you to notice that my life's different from yours. I need you not to judge me. Don't compare and don't keep score. I'd love an extra pair of hands or just a hug or two. I need you to acknowledge that I carry more than you. You got the world here on my back. So I just thought I would ask. Don't desert me, don't ignore. I need friends now, more than I ever did before. What you take for granted comes so hard for me. I'm a parent just like you, it's true, but I have special needs. I need answers, I need help. It's so much work, and a miracle or two sure wouldn't hurt. Don't desert me, don't ignore. I need friends now, more than I ever did before. It's not the life that I have chosen, but it's the life that's chosen me. I'm a parent just like you, it's true, but I have special needs. Oh, yeah, I have special needs. Yeah, I need someone to listen. I need your care. I need your understanding. I need you just to be here. Yeah, I need your friendship. Maybe a hug or two. Oh God, I need a miracle.
There you go. Put you in the mood. Ooh. Okay, Stephen, we're ready for you. Where are you? You are. Ooh, did you leave me?
No, here I am.
Here you are.
Okay, and I'm ready to go. I got a warning from the Google Hangout that said that I guess they have time limits on these Google Hangouts, so it looks like it's going to end right at 3:30, which is pretty much what we rescheduled. 3:30 my time, so I guess that's 1:30 your time, and then it's going to disconnect us. Yeah, that's right. All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay, so question and answer. You guys have Stephen for a whole hour. Anybody have questions? All right.
And maybe if you could adjust the camera so that I can see the audience.
Yes, I'll switch it.
All I got is the lights.
Sorry, Stephen, the lights.
Oh, now I can see people.
When you can you stand up? Yeah.
I have a question. My name is Anthony from Saskatoon. I have a client right now who is 15 years old, and we're working on introducing that he's been taking medicine for the last 10 years. Now, do you have any suggestions how we can introduce that kind of idea so he's aware that he's been taking medicine?
All right, so I'll ask for Marcy to repeat the question because I heard it was a question about medicine, but I wasn't exactly sure about the whole thing.
Can you hear me now? I'll just go closer to the screen.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. I can see like the edge of you, so if you move over to your right, yeah, now I can see all of you.
All right, so I have a question. I have a 15-year-old client who has been on medication for about 10 years now, and he has no idea he's been taking it. And now we want to introduce that to him. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I certainly do, and it goes back to the idea of disclosure. And that is talking about, well, hold on a minute, I'm going to close the door to my office because it's creating an echo. Okay, with that distracting echo gone, it's a disclosure process just like I had talked about earlier with that four-part disclosure procedure. And it's really a matter of introducing the idea that people's brains are wired differently, and perhaps his brain is wired as such, which makes him really good at these areas, and perhaps has some challenges in other areas. And additionally, people's bodies are also put together differently. And some people's bodies make too much of a certain chemical and not enough of a chemical, and that has to be balanced by using medication. And that is why he is taking this medication to essentially balance his body chemistry. And that's how I go about it.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened to that mic?
Have you guys tried social stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're just...
Okay, if you could come up to the front, close to the computer, then I'll be able to hear.
Sorry, that was me, Stephen. I was just asking if they've tried social stories.
Oh, okay.
It's her fault. Basically, we're just kind of coming up with ideas before we introduce it, so we have a plan, because they're scared that once he finds out, he's going to refuse to take it, and then he'll revert potentially into acting out. So we're just kind of seeing what kind of options we have before we go forth.
Right, and the idea of however that gets communicated, I heard Marcy mention social stories, and whatever social narrative seems to be appropriate. It could be a social story, it could be a power card, it could even be a visual schedule. It depends where he is developmentally and how you can communicate with him.
What about even trying to find an adult or an older person that is on medication that can talk to him or make him a video or something? Is the video one?
Yeah.
Or I mentioned the social stories. Carol Gray, her new book, she's got that CD-ROM.
Okay.
It's got a ready-made one in there
Okay.
about medication because I did it with my boys.
Okay, perfect.
It's awesome. You just have to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Who else has a question? Oh my God, I spent an hour with Stephen. Okay. And I thought this whole portable line thing would work. Didn't realize he couldn't hear.
Hi, Stephen. I have a client who's 17 years old, and when she is bored, she destroys everything in her mom and dad's house. She pulls apart the taps, she pulls the doors off the hinges, just to see how it is put together and torn apart. We're trying to think of something to replace this behavior with that could be a more productive skill.
Yeah, well, yeah, that certainly is a challenge. You don't want her tearing apart your house. So what I would wonder is if there were other things that she could take apart while while you're not there. I also wonder if she only tears apart the house when you're gone, might it be that she's afraid that you'll never come back? And the reason why I say that is that many of us with autism live in the here and now, and it's difficult to conceive the passage of time and the idea of what might be in the future or what might have been in the past. So possibly what you might do is draw up a visual schedule, a schedule that indicates when you're leaving, how long you'll be gone, and what time you'll be back. And perhaps if she clearly understands that, then her anxiety level will go down and maybe she won't have to tear apart the house. Meanwhile, I also wonder about providing other things that she can take apart to see how they work.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Stephen, I hope you don't mind if I add to that too. Just, I don't
Go
know.
right ahead.
No, but I worked for a like agency in Edmonton for 4 years and my behavioral certification as well. But the other thing is when they're gone, the parents or whomever, there's some special things that come out just at that time, like really for toys or activities or games or something, because then it's more of a positive reinforcer about as opposed to, you know, the negative. Does that make sense? So like have a special Wii game or something that only comes out when mom or dad are gone. Or, and she's going. Okay.
Or like when she's in the bathroom having bath, she hears her like the bathroom bath.
So Stephen, did you, I'm going to reiterate that question. It seems like it's more
When she's alone in her bed.
when she's alone or in other areas of the home. It's not necessarily when people aren't around. Like she's just seeming to have a very destructive, you know, and the first thing I think with really advanced level of certs and behavioral training is it's a tactile sensory thing too. She needs like some crazy, like maybe some fidgets, you know, the fuzzy balls, all kinds of stuff. But again, that's an oral sensory thing, right? Like she's tearing things apart, it's a hand sensory thing, so it could be very different. Do you have any other thoughts, Stephen?
Well, I didn't quite get the additional request or the addition to the question because it was too far away. But I think just, as you said, CERTS is really good because they do a really good enhanced version of what you might call a functional behavior assessment. And just seeing what the child needs. And that's something that can only be done by someone who goes in there and observes and asks questions and does some assessments. And by finding out what those needs are and meeting them, then there should be less destructive behavior.
Okay. And do you guys know what CERTS is? CERTS is an acronym, SCERTS. And it was designed by some very world-renowned OT speech therapists on the website CERTS.com, and it stands for Social Communication, Emotional Regulation, Transactional Supports. So she's emotionally regulating and replacing the transactional supports. Those are the deficits of autism. Questions? Paxton.
Do I need the mic or just need the computer? Okay, well, let me try without the mic. You can hear me okay, Stephen?
Yeah, I can hear you just great.
Okay, good idea. Well, it's good to speak to you again. I work in the group home system for autism services in Saskatoon, and we have a client who loves nothing more in the world than plastic. Plastic bottles, empty plastic containers, any kind of plastic. Now, there are certain textures of plastic she prefers, but if there's plastic in the house, she wants it. Now, we've tried several different approaches because this obsession gets in the way of her functioning in any other way in her life. And we've tried setting up a schedule for when she gets plastic so she knows when the next piece of plastic is coming. We've tried just giving her plastic whenever she asks. So far, any approach we take ends with her unsatisfied and wanting more plastic. Even if every piece of plastic in the house is gone, then she simply starts looking for anything that's like plastic, cardboard, anything that she can hoard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any ideas about other approaches that we could try? Because it really is stopping her from enjoying the rest of her life.
Yeah, well, this is a case of where a special interest or activity or behavior, you really have to decide whether it's serious enough to to warrant intervention, and if something needs to be done about it. And this looks like it does. You do need to do something about it. And the question of what to do, of course, not seeing her or observing her, it would be hard to come up with specific recommendations. So that would mean getting somebody in there who knows about autism and who can really get into the reason why she's hoarding plastic, or if not plastic, reasonable substitutes, according to her. And then setting up a plan. Once you find out why this is happening, then you can start modifying the behavior.
Okay.
And then you can start providing substitutes.
How about you? Would you like to come assess her for me?
Yeah, sure, I'll come right up. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
Thank you for your answers. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Stephen, may I share about the CERTS functional behavior assessment thing?
Yeah. Well, what we're talking about insofar as CERTS is it's more of a procedure as opposed to an approach. And what I mean by that is that a CERTS practitioner will do a really good assessment on the child's or individual's needs in terms of social interaction, communication, that's the SC of CERTS, and then emotional regulation, that's the ER, so keeping regulated and recovering from dysregulation, and then the TS is transactional supports, which is interacting with others, and part of that is teaching the individual with autism skills and interacting with others, and the other part involves educating others on how to best communicate and interact with the individual on the autism spectrum. So that's CERTS for you. And what a CERTS practitioner will do is they will look at all avenues for collecting data. So in other words, in doing a functional behavior assessment, why is the individual collecting plastic in this case? And they'll look at possible sensory explanations, communication, social interaction, and even look at potential medical issues that could be causing this behavior. And in only doing that, and looking at everything, including the environment, which also includes talking to other people who are in this child's life and looking at similarities or differences in behaviors. And only after putting that all together is it possible to, number one, determine the cause, and then two, see what needs to be done in order to change the behavior. And that's essentially what a CERTS practitioner will do.
Paxton, I have the actual manuals if you want, and I have those functional behavior assessments that, like on a document, I can email if you want. It's like a really great, and it helps you troubleshoot like the triggers and just different reasons why.
Could you ask me if Stephen has any other ideas once he knows that she's actually not a child, she's mid-30s, she's my age,
Right.
and she's not communicating, she's echolalic, so she can't really say anything unless she's heard it before.
She's an adult, Stephen.
Uh-huh.
She's 30, so, and she's not very communicative.
Well, that's all the more reason to get a person who understands autism and find ways to communicate with that person. That's one of the leading causes of challenging behaviors is a difficulty or inability to communicate one's wants and needs. And once you're able to establish some means of communication, a reliable means of communication, that will also help in resolving the issue.
Yeah, you just took the thoughts out of my head, because unless you can get inside her brain and figure out as to why she feels that stuck on the plastics, does she have any basic picture exchange, communication, anything happening?
She ordered them because they're laminated. So what happens is it's plastic, it goes in the toilet and then in the garden, and she won't even look for pictures.
I have some other ideas about that.
I'll talk to you.
This is OCD. This is true OCD, and both of my boys have true OCD. Just some personal experience, maybe. I don't know.
I love that. Thank you.
Okay, another question.
Hi, my name is Shirley, and I'm a parent of a son who's 21 years old and on the spectrum. And I'm just wondering what types of supports as an adult have you received, or what things have you found beneficial in your adult life? You talked about your childhood, but I'm interested more about as you grew up.
All right. Well, the adult stuff comes tomorrow, so that's an encouragement for people to return tomorrow. But in summary, the things that help me the most are addressing sensory issues. So that's why you often see me wearing a cap, as I talked about this morning, and also making sure that things are organized and that information presented to me is reasonably structured, or if it isn't structured, I can find a way to structure that information. And if I'm able to do that, if there's clarity of communication, so in other words, if, for example, office politics, and when people aren't really saying what they mean, these things can be difficult.
Are you going to come back tomorrow, Shirley? Yeah. Yay!
Okay, great.
And you might get to meet her son tomorrow, Rich, and what's his name? Drew.
Oh, it's even better.
We'll try not to freak him out too much. We'll be like, hi, Drew! Oh. Okay, other questions? Okay, I have one.
Okay.
Do your parents public speak, Stephen?
Not that I know of. My father passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, so he's not really in a position to do that. My mother, she pretty much stays at home. She's not much into travel. But I think, any insights that my mother could lend to parents, I think, would be very helpful. But some people public speak, and other people would just much rather not, so I guess she's in the rather not category of things.
I think with my mom hat, and if I may, I'm sure everybody thinks that that's why you're who you are, but you'd be a dream come true for me with my boys, if both of, or one of them could function at your level as an adult. So I was just wanting to get the recipe from your parents.
Oh, okay, well, I'm honored, and I think...
Ask your mom to make a recipe.
Right.
2 cups of love, 3 cups of make sure he's got his fuzzy socks. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and the challenge that we have is, due to the diversity of the autism spectrum, the only recipe we have is that there is no recipe. But I think the general philosophy that my parents had, and that is they accepted me for who I was, but at the same time they recognized that there were some significant challenges to be overcome if I were to lead a fulfilling and productive life.
Cool. Anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay. I made sure I had all the backup ones for you guys.
Hi, team.
Hello.
I was just wondering, as a parent, how I could better advocate for my son. He has really bad organizational skills, and he just transferred to a new school, which is working out very well for him. But he's being held to the same standard as the rest of his peers, which is not working for him. And he has the same issues at home, like he can't be organized. I have everything labeled in his room where everything should go. And I cannot walk in his bedroom without injuring myself. So it's kind of carrying over between home and school, and I'm just wondering how I can better advocate for him as well as how to better help him between the two environments.
All right, so there's a couple of challenges here. One is the organization, and it looks like you're well on your way towards helping him organized with everything being labeled in his room. Maybe that he may be overwhelmed by his entire room, attempting to organize it. So might there be a small part of his room that he could be in charge of and taught to organize, and then slowly increasing the number of things or amount of space that needs to be organized. As for advocacy in the school, I'm not conversant in the laws in Canada, but I do know that in the United States, that students who have special needs, which your son definitely has, it's a matter of getting those accommodations written into the individual education plan. And I think it might be called something a little bit differently in Canada, but the idea may be the same. And in the United States, this is a legal document, and once signed, the school has to follow it. So it's really a matter of talking to the educators, talking to the teachers, and perhaps even setting up an emergency meeting, which in the United States has to be done scheduled within 2 weeks, and saying these are my son's needs, and this is what we need to happen. And it can also be helpful to have another person with you. It could be a parent who's done this before. It could be someone who's a mediator or an advocate, or even in extreme cases a lawyer, but I'd save the lawyer for last, you might say.
Yeah, my autism consultant typically comes with me to those meetings.
All right, that's good.
Typically, whenever we bring up areas where there's a deficit, we are met with, we're excusing his behavior. He does come across as, well, he is intelligent, don't get me wrong, that'll sound bad. He is highly intelligent, but they don't see him as having deficits because he seems very mature for his age.
So they're blinded by his strengths.
Yeah, so they look at his strengths and say he can function across the board equally, and everything gets excused as, well, you're making excuses. They don't see deficits, they see it as being lazy. So it's met with a lot of frustration on both sides.
Yeah, I can see how that would be. And not being there, it's hard to know exactly what to say. But I am wondering if it's time to call an advocate, someone who specializes in helping people obtain the services and supports that they need.
Yeah, they do. He's designated. The school knows.
Stephen, I'm going to make sure I share, one of the things I'm going to talk about is our toolkits. And we have a very extensive school and community toolkit that I would really, this is why I spend so much time making sure everyone is aware of all the free resources we have, because it's really about, this sounds like a real case of educating these school professionals and helping them understand what his needs are, because it's human nature to be like military drill sergeants, right, and they don't realize. So I would really recommend giving them a copy of the school community toolkit, which was just updated a month ago, and it's some amazing updates, and they're all free. So, yeah. You agree, Stephen?
Yeah, I agree. I think those toolkits are very good. I've helped in making some of those toolkits, and what I've seen of them, they can be very helpful.
Tracy, what about, you know, I'll have to educate myself, obviously, now because I'm in Saskatchewan, but like I'm a teacher by trade, which helped me advocate for my voice at the school level because I knew what Alberta Learning and Other Education held the teachers to the standard, but I literally had to go to the board office myself and sit down at a meeting and hand them their own documentation and say, do your job. Or, you know, the teacher, the 8th grade 1 teacher was like, ugh, talk to the 8. And I was like, well, actually, if you look at your teacher's contract, you know, you're responsible for my son's IEP, so I'm going to talk to you. And, you know, it's about helping them. It's usually fear too, like they're very fearful because they're lacking the knowledge, right? And that one teacher, the first day of school, she says to me, just so that you know, I'm part-time, I don't need after school, I don't need before school, blah, blah, blah. She just, and I was like, okay. So I realized this was going to be my project that year, which was 4 years from now. At the end of the year, she came up to me, hugged me, thanked me, and she admitted that it was really just from fears. She was just off of that, even very stressed. She never had a child on the spectrum before. So I think it's really about remembering we're all human and afraid of change, and they just need knowledge. So my 2 cents would be, anyway. Okay, who's got another question for Stephen? Oh, I got him. Or so Google cuts us off.
Yeah, right.
Anyone? Okay.
Hi, Stephen. I'm Deanne.
Hi, Deanne.
I have a 9-year-old son who was diagnosed with ADHD ODD at the age of 5 and has an updated PDD-NOS diagnosis. And I don't know if you've ever ran into anyone or what your experience with those kind of people, or if you've experienced anyone with that kind of diagnosis, and what you would say to help him out with both of them.
Yeah, well, that's hard to say because there's such diversity within the autism spectrum, ODD, and various other conditions that it's hard to make specific recommendations. But what I would work on is making sure that interactions and communications with him are very clear and understood, and that he has a reliable means of communication, and that he's supported in his social interactions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I tried to get her to ask you what she needs help with like now. She's shy. Okay. Anyone else? You can whisper it to me and I'll ask. Hand it to me on a piece of paper. I have a question, Stephen.
Okay.
Personal life. A big struggle for us has been, you met who is my now ex-husband. I think that's a really big gap for children with special needs or on the spectrum is support for those typical things that can happen in families. I don't think the statistic is 100% true, but you know, I've heard anywhere from 60 to 80% of families of parents and kids on the spectrum will get divorced. So now that's the case, and we're really struggling with that with one of our boys, Aiden, especially because of the his lack of ability to perspective take and understand. And so do you have any friends that have gone through that? Or so imagine when you were younger, or if your parents were separated, divorced, and you had to live between 2 homes now and trying to understand that whole social concept of mommy and daddy aren't married anymore.
Well, I think it's just a matter of breaking it down into language and concepts that are developmentally appropriate. So we could be talking about, we could be simply saying, sometimes people find out that they don't get along, and when friends find out they don't get along, they part ways. Sometimes people have married, and if they find out that they don't get along, they find that it's better to continue their relationship, if there is a relationship between the mother and the father, by living separately. However, by living separately, it doesn't diminish the love and support that both parents have for their child, and that both parents remain united in supporting what your needs are. And some of the differences that you'll face as your parents live in separate locations is that you'll be spending some of your time with your mother and some of your time with your father. And depending upon, again, the developmental level of the child, this may be presented through picture schedules, perhaps social stories, maybe power cards, and whatever means of communication seems to work. And that's how I think about going about it.
Okay, thanks. The one deeper thing I'll share is we've done all of that, and now he's at the stage, it's been 3.5 years. He actually came right out, he types, he's apraxic, he's nonverbal, but very high functioning, it's just his expressive speech. He typed that he thinks that it's his fault, him and his brother's fault, that mom and dad aren't, and that's just like, ooh, how do you? So I'm sure you've, over the years, felt responsible for things, so how can I help him with that?
And that's a big challenge, and that's a challenge that, based on what I know, that every child has to address, or at least it's very common for children to have to address. They think it's their fault, and again, I think bringing it to the developmental level of the individual and communicating in the best way that they communicate, whatever means that is, be it power cards, social stories, visual schedules, whatever it might be, that to help them understand that it's not something that they could have made happen, and nor is it something that could have prevented. And that's very similar to what I sometimes mention to parents when they talk about autism and wonder if it's something that they did to cause the autism. And similarly, it's not something you could have prevented, and it's not something that you could have caused either.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I saw some more hands yet for You're next. Write it down soon.
I'm a speech path.
Hi there.
Hello.
I'm a speech pathologist, and I work with preschool kids at this point in time. And I know, or to me it feels like having good friendships established is very useful for kids, but it's also one of the most difficult things for our kids. Did you have any good friends while you were growing up, and what made them relate to you, or what made them such good friends? Like, what do you remember about these people that were your friends that really stuck with you, and just how you got drawn to them?
All right. Well, I had some good friends, not too many, and the people I was friends with, and still am in some cases, tended to be people who had differences, or at least differences from me. And what I mean by that is that most of my friends were older than I was, which is common for people on the autism spectrum. And then as I got older, I found that most of my friends were people from other cultures, because people from other cultures, one, they may not detect as many differences. Two, the ones they detect, they may erroneously assume, well, I guess all Americans flap when they balance their worksheets on the computer, or maybe they may have their own challenges integrating into a society and perhaps appreciate, or at least are tolerant of, differences. As for making friends, as for social interactions, that's something that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, is to what we can do to build a protocol to help those individuals with autism who want to socially interact, and most often I find they do. But what happens is after so many bad experiences of interacting, that they just kind of give up on the whole process and don't want to do it. So what can we do to break down the process of successful social interaction and then teach that to a person on the autism spectrum? So we're going to get into that next time too.
Are you doing it tomorrow? Yeah. Yay. Okay, good. Cool. Awesome.
I'd like to ask a question about neuroplasticity. Hello, my name is Bill. I had a question. I've seen a lot of literature lately about neuroplasticity. I'm wondering if that would be something that might help our children.
Neuroplasticity, the idea is that the brain is, the younger you are, the more changeable and plastic and flexible your brain is, which speaks to the urgency of early intervention. However, what research is also finding is that there remains a certain amount of plasticity in the brain throughout life. So that means it's never too late to learn something.
Thank you.
Sure.
Stephen, I'm pretty sure we just put a study out about that, a scientific study.
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
I'm sure we did. It was through the Mind Institute. We funded something. And
Right.
I'm sorry?
The Aerosmith program. Are you familiar with that? Yeah, but that's good.
I'm not. No. Yeah, maybe. Okay. You're up.
I just wanted to ask what his opinion is on medication versus alternate therapies, alternative medicine, natural therapy.
Okay. I'll ask for you. There's a question, Stephen, about what your opinion would be on using medications versus more natural means, natural therapies, vitamins, or medications, or what your thoughts are and success. And did I ask that right? Okay.
Well, I think the biomedical end of things for autism has been getting a bad rap because there's a lot of foolishness and hucksterism in the medical area, which is really too bad because it ruins it for everybody else. What I find is that the smarter people in the biomedical end of things, and I'm talking about individuals such as Stephen Edelson, who runs the Autism Research Institute, and various others, they're really about good health. And the idea is, very simply, is that if you're in good health, if you're not having digestive issues, if you're not having immune system issues, then you'll be higher functioning, as anybody would be, whether they have autism or not. And the reason why these people are in the field of autism is because they've noticed some correlations between autism and various other conditions, digestive issues being the most common, and also immune system challenges. And it's those best doctors who will tell you that let's see what can be done first with behavioral or educational interventions. And if we are not successful, then let's see what we can do with a minimal amount of supplements and or medication. As to whether something is natural or not, natural substances can be just as powerful and helpful or damaging as those created chemically in a factory. And really what you need is a medical practitioner who understands the autism spectrum. And if you have that, then that person can be very helpful.
Cool. So this is an area, Stephen, I'm going to have to interject here. So remember that video I showed you at the beginning, the Autism Treatment Network? So this topic in itself is why Autism Speaks founded and funds the Autism Treatment Network. So what that truly is a collaboration between the behavioral therapeutic professionals, so behaviorists, speech therapists, occupational therapy, those, and then regular pediatricians, things, and then collaborating for a wraparound or a whole child approach, looking at, because science is starting to prove that there are certain subsets of children on the spectrum that can suffer from gastrointestinal issues. Vitamin deficiencies, B12, folic acid. Melatonin is now proven in some studies. So it's that collaboration between recognizing that, just like Stephen said, if you have severe GI issues, how well are you going to function? Let alone having all the other developmental aids, sensory issues, communication issues. So that's what Autism Treatment Network sites are all about, is working together for the whole child. So the gastroenterologist that I talked to you about, that video that I educated him, I kind of converted him to make him realize that no, it doesn't matter that the A word is attached to my boys. They're children and they have autism, but they also suffer from these gastrointestinal issues, which are genetic from their dad's side. So that's really what the Autism Treatment Network site is all about. And I'm not going to talk more about, we have Stephen, but a little bit later I'm going to explain in detail some of the toolkits that have come out of that, helping all those common medical issues. Okay, cool. Another question? Okay.
Hi, I'm Tim. I have a 7-year-old son who was diagnosed with Asperger's. I'm just wondering, with the changes, what's coming of the Asperger's diagnosis?
All right, well, that's a question that we all have. All we know now is that many people who are diagnosed with Asperger syndrome are going to be reclassified as having a social communication disorder. And what that means is essentially somebody with autistic characteristics that you'd find in a diagnosis of autism, but the cognitive challenges are not present. And while those of us who are educators, parents, and others supporting those with autism understand that these are the same individuals, whether we label them with Asperger syndrome, autism, social communication disorder, or even nothing at all, we know what supports they need. The challenge will be making sure that from the administrative end of things, that they receive the supports that they need. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen now. There's a lot of people asking that your very same question, insofar as the administrative end of things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it looks like I just got another warning from Google, so it looks like we have time for 1 or 2 more questions.
1 or 2 more. Nothing? Okay. Yeah, why not? Got him. He's here. Ask him.
We're all
Hi, it's me again.
Hi again.
I'm just wondering if you'd have any suggestions as to, once my son is old enough, prepare him for, I guess, leaving my nest. He has differing opinions as to what he wants to see happen. As a typical male, he wants his own man cave. And on the other hand, he's talking about he thinks he wouldn't mind being in a supportive home. And I just don't really know how to address that with him because he's already talking about it. He's only 13. So just...
All right, well, I think the best thing you can do for him is to provide him the skills in communication, social interaction, self-advocacy, and we're going to talk about those tomorrow, so that he can lead the best interdependent life as possible. So in other words, how much independence can you get with the realization that he may need some supports and maybe even some significant supports in some areas of his adult life. And that's not something that we can entirely predict from age 13. I mean, we can get some ideas, but we don't know. I've seen many cases where it's looked like someone is going to need essentially round-the-clock support at age 12 or 13, but by the time they get to their late teens or 20s, you can start seeing that they're going to really be able to do some stuff on their own. So it's a matter of providing as many tools as possible.
Cool. Okay, so I guess that was it, unless anybody has a real burning one they want to ask him. Okay. So students back with us tomorrow, but I think I convinced all of you guys to come back tomorrow. I know it's Saturday, it's tough. But I think maybe we could stand and give them a big thank you.
Thank you very much.
And when I see you in Chicago at Autism One, will you be there?
I'll be there, especially during the beginning part with the Dennis DeBott talking about first responder preparation.
Cool. Okay. So can we take, I just want like a 5-minute break if you guys need a break, coffee, whatever, bathroom. I have to convert the computer. Okay. So then we net on one. Okay? And then we'll come back at, what time do you guys have? 5 to 10 minutes? Is that cool? Okay, see you in a bit.
Bye, Stephen.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Okay,
Bye, everyone.
I'm closing Google now. Bye.
There you go. Bye.